Assalamualaikum and hi madam, my name is IZZATI. For the first thing, let me introduce the definition of this term. In law, battery is defined as the intentional application of force towards another without that person's consent. This touching need not necessarily involve violence. Any physical contact that could constitute a battery is when the touching leaves some scars such as cut, burns or bullet wound onto that person's body. Next is regards to the elements of battery. There are 4 elements listed out. The first one is the mental state of the defendant during the application. Second, the defendant act must be under his control or voluntarily. Third, there must be a contact between the defendant and plaintiff. And the last one is the touching must be without the plaintiff's consent. Further continue with the first element, which is the mental state of the defendant. The intention is really important in committing battery. Thus, it must be together with the application of force at the time the act was committed by the defendant. Although the general rule is that the intention relates to the direct act of the defendant, the doctrine of transfer intermites the scope and meaning of the intention, thereby extending the possible liability of the defendant. The applicability of this doctrine is illustrated in the case of Scott against Sherpet. The case of Scott against Sherpet, the fact case is a latest squid was thrown by the defendant into an open market area. A picked it up and threw it upon B, who then picked it up and threw it away. The squid hit the plaintiff, whereupon the squid burst into flames. In the judgment, the court held that the defendant was liable for the tort of trespass to person, although his initial gestures did not directly affect the plaintiff. However, A and B are not liable as their reactions are for their own safety.
The next element is the defendant's act must be done voluntarily. An act is voluntary if it is willed. Involuntary, the defendant consciously decides to move a part of his body and the movement of the body follows from that desire. Refer to the case Gibbons against Pepper, where the defendant was riding a horse when someone hit the horse from behind, causing the horse to bolt. The horse collided with the plaintiff. Then the court held that the defendant not liable as the incident of the horse bolting and colliding with the plaintiff was outside his control. The next element is contact, where no battery if there is no contact or application of force with the plaintiff's body or clothing. Any physical contact with the body of the plaintiff or his clothing is sufficient to constitute force. In the case Cole against Turner, the least touching of another in anger is battery, and that if 2 or more persons meet in a narrow passage and without any violence or design of harm, the one touch another gently, it will be no battery. While in the case Collins against Wilcox, a police officer held a woman with the intention of temporarily detaining her. The court held that the contact was hostile as the police officer did not have the authority to detain her.
Turn to the last element, which is touching without the plaintiff's consent. It is obviously illegal to touch someone without his consent, but not all touching includes battery. For example, tapping someone's shoulder to get his attention. It's done. I hope you are okay with our simple presentation. Thank you.